Welcome to Biztech's C-Suite Conversation Show. Today we speak with Carlos Gómez Gallego, Chief Technology Officer, Asia Pacific and Japan at Aruba Networks. Aruba Networks is a Santa Clara, California-based wireless networking company that's a subsidiary of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Now, Carlos, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Great to be here.
Now, you're dialing in from Australia, but Carlos, can you start by giving us an overview of Aruba and its history?
Sure. So Aruba Networks has been around for just over 20 years now. We started building enterprise wireless networking solutions back in the early days of Wi-Fi, and over time have evolved to provide edge switching, data center switching, and really all elements of the networking wired and wireless. In addition to that, we provide a whole series of security and management solutions, both for on-prem and on cloud. And as you mentioned, about 6 years ago now, we were acquired by Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and with their rich, Hewlett-Packard networking division, formed that edge business within Hewlett-Packard, which has been fantastic for our growth and for really being able to deliver edge to cloud, solutions for our customers.
Now, Carlos, I want to zoom in on you. You just spoke about being acquired. You, in fact, in 2010, joined Aruba because you were acquired by Aruba Networks. Tell us about that interesting journey. How a small company in Brisbane got acquired by a Silicon Valley giant.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So in around about 2007, myself and a few colleagues that had worked in the early days of some of the wireless companies, which, to be honest, some of them are not even around anymore. We'd worked in early wireless networking, but we were always a little bit more focused on the applications that ran over the network versus the actual network itself. And one of the big use cases at the time was for guest access. So it started off for guest access in hotels and airports and coffee shops, and in education and universities a little bit as well. But gradually there was a real desire and a need to provide that same sort of guest access hotspot experience in the enterprise, so that contractors or partners or suppliers that were coming to meetings and to work and collaborate could actually access the internet and access their email and other data resources and the like. And so in 2007, after a bit of software development for some bespoke solutions for some customers here in Australia, we incorporated our company called AmigoPod, and we set out to bring guest access to the masses. And this was, a really interesting inflection point because, the iPhone had sort of just been released, the iPad was only a year or two away. And so it was a really great inflection point where we were able to really show enterprises the value of having a wireless network because of this great application that we could run over the top of it. It wasn't just this invisible wireless network that was sitting there, not doing anything. And over the years, we worked very closely with Aruba Networks because we only provided the software, right? We didn't provide the wireless infrastructure itself. And over the years, we worked very closely with Aruba Networks and their various channel partners and integrators around the world. And we got close, to them from a business development perspective. And, one thing led to another, and they decided to acquire us in December of 2010. And so we all got a one-way ticket from Brisbane and Sydney, Australia to San Francisco, and I've been there ever since, and delighted with the way that the product not only evolved and grew within Aruba, but became the market leader product ClearPass, which is quite well known today. So that's the story. Thank you for asking.
That's a fantastic story. But now coming back to Aruba today in the Asia Pacific region,
yes,
what are your key product and service offerings?
So we provide a series of infrastructure and software services to effectively deliver customers, an edge to cloud network that is able to connect users to applications connect devices to workloads, and effectively deliver, the quality of experience that is needed to, power what is increasingly a much more technology-driven enterprise across multiple verticals. So we really provide that entire stack, starting from the edge at Aruba. We were born at the edge, and we think that the edge is, a critical point to actually look at data from a security lens, from a performance lens, from a AI ops troubleshooting lens, and make very intelligent decisions about where that traffic goes. So that's a little bit about what we do at Aruba, and obviously with as part of Hewlett Packard Enterprise with storage and compute capabilities, we really can provide an entire edge to cloud network, compute, and storage solution for our customers.
Carlos, could you give us an insight on perhaps how you work with some specific customers in the region and how they benefit from your services?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So look, we've been, powering customers' wireless networks and wired networks for many, many years across all kinds of verticals and diverse use cases. But more recently, what we're really focusing on is, how do we essentially augment the IT team's experience, and both from a sort of troubleshooting perspective, but also from a performance and optimization perspective, given that networks are getting or have become more complex, and especially in the last couple of years, we really see IT teams that are struggling, I guess, or juggling the requirement to help troubleshoot sort of a big remote workforce that 2 years ago was sort of inside an office and today is dispersed all over the place. So how do you juggle some of those troubleshooting issues that weren't really around before, whilst at the same time trying to plan for return to office projects and digital transformations that organizations are going through? So at the moment, we see IT teams juggling a little bit between the requirements of today and being able to to plan for tomorrow. And so where we think we can help that with Aruba is by leveraging capabilities such as AI ops, because that really allows customers to to help really increase the rate that you can troubleshoot issues and get a faster mean time to resolution, as well as being able to proactively look at optimizations for before problems happen, to ultimately reduce the tickets from sort of coming in the first place.
Okay, so just for point of clarification for the audience, AI ops is artificial intelligence for IT operations, which essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos, combines big data and machine learning to automate IT operations processes. Am I correct? Just about right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And one of the needs for AI ops, if you like, is it's really a question of human scale. It's become increasingly difficult with the volume of data and telemetry that's getting generated, not just by the networking infrastructure, but by the security infrastructure, by some of the application infrastructure, your cloud infrastructure. And at some point you reach a level from a human scale perspective that you just can't analyze all of that, whether it be and dig through all of that, again, whether it be for a more troubleshooting kind of a use case, or whether it be more for an optimization kind of a use case. And so as you rightly mentioned, applying AI to your IT operations and to all of that data and telemetry, allows us to take really large volumes of data that's really rich and really interesting, and process that, analyze that data, report on that data, and ultimately look for patterns and similarities and anomalies that we can bubble up to the IT operations team, so that when they're actually troubleshooting a ticket, for example, there's already a bunch of information that they've got at their fingertips that helps them come to that mean time of resolution, reduce that mean time to resolution, but also provides insights on, hey, actually, if we do this optimization on this part of the network, then this user might not have that problem, or other users might not have a similar problem in the future. So it's really augmenting the IT operations team, doing a lot of that background work of crunching all of that data, looking for patterns, within your organization and even within peer organizations, no matter how small or large they may be, again, to really try and optimize that user experience by reducing the time to troubleshoot a problem and optimizing the infrastructure for better performance and quality of experience.
And I would think that what this also does is it frees up time for your existing IT people to then basically make sure that they focus on higher level stuff, also focus then their attention on innovating.
Absolutely. When I mentioned about building a guest access application, because that's the value, that's the business outcome. Customers want networks to be able to run applications and generate data from IoT devices and the like. The network itself should be an enabler for that, not a blocker for that. And so the more time that we can take away from IT teams having to worry about day-to-day tasks, the more that they can concentrate on, those innovation and digital transformation projects. And, we see that, certain types of typical troubleshooting tickets can really be reduced in very, very high percentages of numbers by leveraging technologies such as AIOps, because there are a lot of tickets that are very, very similar in nature, and it's the same issue sometimes. And so if we can really help automate resolutions to that, and as I mentioned, optimize so that it doesn't happen again in the future, then IT teams can, as you mentioned, really concentrate on innovation, which is what we want them to do.
Now, we're in 2022 now. How can enterprises improve network connectivity and build a more resilient infrastructure this year? Because basically, there's more and more online work, there's bandwidth requirements, there's security issues around all of this, there are performance issues around all of this. The expectations of users have also gone up. There's feature creep. There's a lot of these issues happening. So how is Aruba supporting these enterprises in 2022 and beyond?
Yeah, sure. So look, I'll touch on a couple of things. So firstly, with our Aruba AIOps capability, which is, a full service capability within our Aruba Central cloud management platform. And that is really designed to, as we've been discussing, to really process a large percent, all of that high volume of data, analyze it, and provide that that really simple way to troubleshoot tickets and optimize the network for performance. And we can apply that across the wireless network, the wired network, as well as the WAN network. So you can have one single network stack that's feeding, the data into, our AIOps system, and can give you a view that is not just, there may be a problem that manifests itself on the wireless network, but maybe it's actually due to an issue on the wired network or due to an issue with some other configuration. And so by being able to have that visibility of all elements of the network, again, we're able to really reduce that mean time to resolution and provide those optimizations that we're looking for. Yeah, I was going to say, the second area that we're really focusing on recently is a new solution called Edge Connect Micro Branch, which really aims at helping with the hybrid workplace that today is, seemingly the norm, and moving into the future will become certainly a part of every organization's plans moving forward. And what the micro branch solution for Aruba does is it actually allows enterprises to extend the corporate network out to that micro branch, i.e. the employee's home or home office, and leverage all of the great SD-WAN capabilities that Aruba has baked into our sort of, traditional enterprise SD-WAN solution, and bundle that into an access point that a user can zero-touch provision by just plugging it into the broadband at their house. And then it leverages the broadband and the public internet to essentially you create a similar SD-WAN experience like we might use to connect, our branches to our headquarters. It's similar security, similar concept, but really miniaturized into a micro branch sort of form factor, a single access point form factor that can be deployed at at an employee's home. And essentially they can then connect to the network as if they're sitting physically in the headquarters, whether it's wireless wired, whether it's corporate managed devices or IoT devices that maybe people are using from a development and R&D perspective and the like. And the reason that this is important, and to sort of tie it back to AI ops, is because if you're extending the network out to your employees, then all of the existing tools that you have from a security perspective, from an AI ops perspective, you're able to leverage all of those because those users are connected essentially, to your network infrastructure. So, from a troubleshooting perspective, you've got full visibility of what's happening at a particular employee's connection, to that corporate network from their home. You can start looking for patterns. Maybe there are issues with particular ISPs that users are using connecting from home. Maybe there's a particular location that's having, different access because of RF interference if they live in a apartment complex.
And also latency is a big issue, especially when you are connected outside remotely.
Absolutely. And one of the ways that we talk to customers today about that latency issue is when we're building policies. For too long, we've built policies that are very, very technical and very sort of complex for the business and the C-suites to understand. And so what we have now with the Aruba ESP framework is a way to describe the business intent for particular business outcomes for particular applications, whether that's your, SAP, ERP applications, your voice applications, maybe it's a custom application that you have, obviously your Office and other applications. And rather than sort of hard code specific amount of bandwidth for this or a specific amount or, a rule for that application, really describe the business intent of when this application needs to be available, how it needs to be available, what the performance is, what the SLA is, and really try and tie it back more to the business outcome versus, ones and zeros and complicated rules.
Absolutely. So for the folks like me can understand.
But that's a key thing because moving forward, this has to be a very inclusive conversation about how we get the network and the technology to really power what those business outcomes are. It has to happen, and as a technology provider, we hope to provide some of those tools that can help bridge that gap between the executives and the technical side of the business.
Now, Carlos, it's been a fascinating conversation, but before we leave, do you have any final thoughts you would like to leave us with?
Sure. So look, I think that it's never been a better time to accelerate and try new technology solutions. There is a lot of innovation out there in the world, and with disruption like we've had in the last 18 to 24 months comes a really, really big opportunity to do things better. So whilst we obviously, as I discussed, need to make sure that we are, have business continuity and we're, dealing with all of the variables with our employees, with working from home, with these sorts of things, I think it is an unprecedented opportunity to really show how we can do things better. And you can start that on a small scale, right? You don't have to necessarily try and transform your entire organization. Start with one branch, start with one location, start with one application, and look at, potentially how you can, really leverage the great technology from Aruba Networks and our ecosystems of partners. I really encourage you to take that first step.
Carlos, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks, Brian.
Now, we've been speaking to Carlos Gómez Gallego, the Chief Technology Officer, Asia Pacific and Japan at Aruba Networks. on Biztech's C-Suite Conversation Show. This video and podcast will be on our various platforms as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks a lot for tuning in.